Hello everyone. So today we're going to be talking about the story of Layla and Majnun, which is a really famous folktale that was made even more famous by some poets around the 12th century onwards. So I'm going to give a brief summary first of the story, and of course we're going to talk about how food is related to this in terms of the renunciant lifestyle that Sufis live and how this relates to prophetic eating practices. So as a summary, the story is of the love between Layla, she's a dark-haired beauty, and Majnun, who is a love-stricken poet. And it's a story that's been passed down through generations already, and it's been adapted into songs, into books, poetry, plays all over the world. If you think you haven't heard of it before, have you heard of the song Layla by Eric Clapton? We're not talking about Eric Clapton's version today, we're going to be talking about Nizami's poem. Nizami is widely regarded as one of the greatest Persian poets, and he was around in the 12th century, so until this very day his version of this story is very, very popular. He based his version off of the songs that were told by Bedouins in the Arabian Peninsula and were later incorporated by the Persians. So the story talks about this tribe of Banu Amir, where there lived a great chieftain who really longed for an heir. He wanted someone to pass his throne, or he wanted someone to carry on his lineage, essentially. He was overjoyed when his son Qais was born, and Qais was said to be a boy of unsurpassing handsomeness, and once he started school he also gained great knowledge and skill, as his words were sweeter than the music of a lute, his wit sharper than an arrow. All his schoolmates gathered round and listened with delight. One day, the beautiful daughter of another mighty chieftain, Layla, who had the darting black eyes of a gazelle, but even darker than her eyes was her raven hair. The moment Qais saw her, he was struck with love, and all that day he could neither read nor write, but only stare at her and wonder at her beauty and her long black hair. He would whisper, "Layla, Layla," softly as if in prayer. Layla also loved Qais. Although they did not speak, their souls understood without the need for words. After a while, Qais could no longer contain his love, and so he ran through the streets and bazaars, shouting, "Layla, Layla." After this fiasco, the people of Banu Amr started calling him Majnun, which means someone that is possessed. Which makes sense because he was essentially possessed with love for Layla. After Layla's father, the chieftain, heard of this, he removed Layla from school, and Majnun then fled into the bazaars, sobbing with grief, before composing his songs for Layla and letting them be carried by the desert winds in hopes of reaching her. Every night he would go to the desert and sing his songs. One night, Layla, restless and sleepless, sat at the door of her tent. Majnun suddenly appeared. In the moonlight they gazed at one another, unbelievingly and trembling with love. Neither could say a word. From that day on, his passion burned even more fiercely. Like a thorn bush set afire, Majnun was consumed by love. He then started to wander the wilderness. He stopped eating, he tore his clothes. He did not care for the thorns that stuck to his feet. All he wanted was to be consumed by the love of Layla and sing his poems that would carry themselves through the desert. His friends tried to help him, his dad tried to help him, his mum tried to help him. But there isn't anything he wanted from anyone. He didn't even want anything from Layla. He just wanted love for his beloved. As when his father took him to Mecca to help cure him of his madness, he says, "Take what is left of my life and give it to Layla's, yet let me never demand from her so much as a single hair. Let me love for love's sake and make my love 100 times as great as it is this very day." Layla was also stricken with love, although she couldn't really show it. She wrote her songs on scraps of paper and strew them on the sand. The wind carried them into the village, and so Majnun heard of them. After this, Layla was married to Ibn Salam, a young man from another tribe. And even after all this, the love between Layla and Majnun didn't die. After more trials, tribulations, separation, war, and suffering, Majnun made his peace living in the wilderness among the animals. Now that I am among my friends, surely I am the happiest man of all. After all this, Layla fell ill with a fever and passed away. But before she died, she asked her mum to dress her in bridal robes so she could wait for her beloved. After Majnun found out she had died, he went to her grave and wept from the depths of his soul. He grew weaker and weaker, and eventually he too passed. So this is quite a sad story of love, a bit like Romeo and Juliet, where the main characters die at the end. But there are several interpretations of what this poem, this story actually means. Outside of this main interpretation of the love between two individuals, there's an interpretation that's said to be influenced by the Sufi practice within Islam, where emphasis is given on the purification of the soul, and intimacy with God is achieved through the sacrifice of the ego. On top of the mandatory religious practices, Sufis focus on living renunciant lifestyles, and they fast often, not just during Ramadan, as fasting can be a way of controlling one's desires, which is why it makes sense that Majnun wasn't eating. He was trying to get closer to God, he was trying to let go of his ego. Sufi poetry, when speaking about love, usually refers to the love between the lover and the beloved being God. When we understand this background of Sufism and I guess what Nizami was trying to portray within the story, we can try to interpret Layla and Majnun slightly differently, where Majnun's love for Layla can be thought of as Majnun's love for God. His rejection of the tribe and his insistence on living in the wilderness with the animals are used to show his annihilation of the ego. He doesn't care anymore about worldly desires. He becomes more and more engrossed in love and only love. Majnun's suffering for Layla and his wanderings in the desert is the suffering of humans for the divine being from which they have been separated. It's the seeking of divine love from the human being, something that they are missing in their lives. When we talk about this suffering that Majnun endures, it's not really suffering, it's something that is used to cleanse the soul. It might hurt and be painful, but growth is always painful. The other part of the story that kind of alludes to this idea is the fact that Layla and Majnun never actually directly speak to one another. They only ever admire one another's beauty from afar, and their words get relayed through the desert, through what other people sing of their songs and poems. And in this way we can also describe how the lover and the beloved communicate with one another. It's never explicit, it's always through signs and symbols, dreams and interpretations. That's kind of the main interpretation of the story, and I wanted to delve a bit deeper into these eating practices within Sufism. So it's said that the physical body and the soul are two different entities. In order to stay in this world, on earth, the soul needs the body, but the soul itself is connected to the divine. So looking after the body and your health in general is an integral part of the religion. There's a delicate balance between nourishing the body and the soul. If you're too strict or too lenient, where you deny yourself too much or you overindulge, it can lead to a disruption of the soul and the body. They start to become disconnected. It's hard to either stay in this world or go to the divine. So we can explain this a bit further through complete renunciation of worldly desires is what's believed to lead to spiritual perfection. However, because we are bodies in this world, we can't disrupt the balance between the body and the soul too much. We need enough sustenance to be able to perform religious duties, right? There's also this idea of the care and love that should be put into the preparation of food as a way of respecting the food and also providing a sort of charity to those that eat it. So we can see how important it is within the religion. And there are a couple of verses in the Quran that also mention this. It said that the food should be tayyib, which means pure, so something that's clean or healthy or good for you, and also halal, which is something that's properly sourced and sacrificed under God's name. O mankind, eat from whatever is on earth that is lawful and good. The eating practice of Sufis is kind of focused on two things. There's been the individual conduct with which you eat, and there have been communal customs as well, how a group eats together. Manners are said to be of really high importance in the religion, where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the example that Muslims are supposed to follow, using both what it says in the Quran, which is the holy book, and also in the Hadith, which are the sayings of the Prophet, and these are both supposed to be used for guidance. In terms of individual conduct, it is said to keep food to a minimum, to purify the self and not take part in overindulgence. Eat and drink, but waste not by excess, for Allah loveth not the wastals. I find this one hadith particularly interesting. A human being fills no worse vessel than his stomach. It is sufficient for a human being to eat a few mouthfuls to keep his spine straight, but if he must fill it, then 1/3 for food, 1/3 for drink, and 1/3 for air. So it's important to eat in moderation, essentially. The other important part of this is fasting, which is practicing self-restraint. The Prophet used to fast every Monday and Thursday, as well as on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of the lunar month. Fasting is a shield. When one of you is fasting on a day, he should neither indulge in obscene language nor raise his voice. If anyone reviles him or tries to fight with him, he should say, "I am fasting." The social aspect of food has also been quite important, where Sufis or those that are wishing to give charity to those that are less fortunate follow the prophetic tradition of inviting one another for banquets. And at these banquets, there isn't just food. They're also accompanied with lessons, debates on Sufi science, and active meditation. So gathering together as a community allows for this socialization, making new friends and acquaintances, learning new things, and feeding the needy and giving charity to the community. I've been wanting to look into these prophetic eating practices for quite some time, and how perfection can be attained through our mannerisms in something that we're fortunate enough to do every single day, which is eat. So I've collated these practices as best I could, and I've put everything in the description if you want to look at any of the quotes or read any of the material. One of the dishes that stuck out to me within the hadith was this dish called tharid, which is still made today, just in a different form. And it's said that the Prophet used to enjoy this, particularly with pumpkin or gourd, squash. I went along with the Prophet to the house of a young tailor of his. The tailor presented a dish of tharid to the Prophet and resumed his work. The Prophet started picking the pieces of gourd, and I too started picking them and putting it before him. Since then, I have always loved to eat gourd. So it was really hard to find an old recipe that used pumpkin or gourd in the method. So I've kind of adapted a couple here, and I'll link the ones that I've used below. But the main one that we're basing our dish off of is Syrian tharid. So let's go and make tharid, and then we'll come back and we'll give it a taste test and use some of these mannerisms that are part of the prophetic eating tradition. Okay, so for the recipe, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare the butternut squash. You can use pumpkin or other gourd. The only thing that I could find was squash, so we're going to chop this up into cubes. I think this is pretty much the only thing that needs to be chopped. We're just going to brown the meat. I've got 250 grams of lamb, so we're just going to brown that in this pot. The meat has browned. We're going to add boiling water to cover this. So I'm going to put the lid on this and let it simmer until the meat is soft. Okay, while that's bubbling away, we're going to make our spice mixture. Caraway seeds, coriander seeds, black pepper, and cumin seeds. I'm going to put a teaspoon of each into the pestle and mortar and grind it. Okay, we're just going to smell the spice mixture on camera. Very fragrant, you can really smell the coriander. The meat has been simmering for about 15-20 minutes, so we're going to add in the spice mixture, and we're just going to check if this is soft yet. Okay, so the meat is 3/4 of the way there. It's nearly tender enough to eat. So we're going to add in 1 chopped butternut squash and boil this until it's cooked. And maybe add a bit more salt as well. Okay, so after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. The butternut squash is cooked down and the meat is nice and tender. This is what it's looking like. So I'm going to plate this up. I've got a layer of bread here, and I'm going to make a layer of mint, garlic, and yogurt, and then I'm going to place this on top of it. Alright, so let's try this tharid. You can see here it looks nice and saucy. We're going to follow some of the prophetic eating etiquette. So we're sat on the floor. We're not supposed to lean back. We're going to keep the right leg raised to prevent overeating. We're going to bless the food and thank God for everything that's here. And we start by saying Bismillah. We're going to use our right hand to eat with these 3 fingers. We're going to lick our fingers after eating the meal to not waste a single drop. And usually you eat together with others, starting from the side of the plate, working inwards. So let's give it a taste. You can taste the garlic. Nice and soft. A nice hearty meal. So I'm going to go and finish this. Let me know if you do try this at home as well. And thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next video.